बटन दबाए ना। So hello. Very good afternoon. On behalf of today MCHI and MahaRERA Practitioners Welfare Association, I welcome the dignitaries of the dais and all of you on the very this afternoon, the rainy afternoon. And I would request Secretary Shri to felicitate with flower. Shri Sanjay Deshmukh. For MahaRERA. Yeah, just please, officially, please come. Okay, Shah, yeah, Vyom Shah, expert in real estate law, and also, yeah, please come. Yeah, okay, our president, sir, please come. President Shri Pankaj Kapoor, a renowned researcher and interesting look at him for various research and modules. We can just start because I tell you, because there are a lot of questions have come. I will just introduce in brief what the subject is, and we'll have some panel discussion on various aspects. Then we'll have some question answers. When we start with question answers, we will take some online questions also. And if you're told you are having some questions, then we can all do after our panel discussion. And I am Sanjay Chaturvedi, Advocate Sanjay Chaturvedi, for moderating today's program. Now, today the subject is that we were all looking in dark. There was no formal industry. Real estate industry was not seen as a industry. It was all informal process, transaction process, development process, and then came the RERA. The regulator have actually now formalized the entire real estate process and have also given some regulatory reforms, and it was badly required in the real estate industry, where the stockholders wanted that some confidence building as far as the real estate development is concerned, or as far as the transactions are concerned. The buyers were not having confidence. The the vendors was not having confidence, and the developers were having all, there was no standardization. There was absolutely a informal industry. After RERA had come in, the executors, the lawmakers had a detailed deliberation in the parliament, and we have a RERA. Now, we have seen over the past 5 years almost that MahaRERA was one of the pioneers in introducing lot of first in the country. We started first in the country. There was a first judgment which was pronounced by MahaRERA, and a pathfinder for other RERA. MahaRERA were instrumental in giving guidance to the other RERA, establishing their codes, establishing their process, establishing their. Now, we have seen a transformation into the various aspects as far as MahaRERA is concerned. MahaRERA now, because knew that, and we are so proud of it, that the real estate, promotion of real estate, and having a great, you can say, business process for real estate, MahaRERA is been doing lot of and bringing lot of regulatory process, and where the confidence building of the stakeholders goes up. With whether it is financiers, whether it is buyer, whether it is brokers, whether it is developers, everybody is having now a regulatory arena and regulatory environment under which the MahaRERA is now. One of the main aim and object of MahaRERA is to promote the real estate, and in that process, MahaRERA now have come up with an idea which wants to have a public debate and suggestions from the industry associations like MCHI and the professional bodies like us. They want to know that what, how, and where the project rating would benefit, or whether we should bring or no, or whether if at all bring, then what should be the parameters and what is. The entire panel discussion today, this we are right now having, will be basically on the methodology, whether there is a need. Sir is here because sir was very much into the team, and sir knows that why and how and he is interacting with the industry. So we are having a person who is also going to tell us that how it would be and how what the RERA thinks, and some legal aspect where our advocate friend Vyom Shah will be speaking on this. So this would be the panel, which I am starting with the very first question from Pankaj Kapoor, who is also into research, and from almost 30 years, maybe more, maybe more. We all read his quotations and all those statistics in the media that from the libraries for us. So now, Pankaj, tell us that when it's a question of, when as a layman, if I ask you that if there is a research, or sorry, a project rating is concerned, then what should be the ideal as far as the real estate is concerned? We know that in the capital market, in the other market, it goes with the credit rating of the instruments and all that. But since because it is a real estate and never done it in the country, I believe so. So what will be your thought on whether the first initial thought comes in your mind as far as the real estate project rating is concerned?
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, everyone. If you see the evolution of RERA and why the RERA came into existence, it all started with the consumer complaints and the previous default. So my own sense is the rating signifies the default probabilities of the project, execution risk in the project, and I feel that is the framework in which the project rating has been conceptualized and envisaged by the RERA, and so there are two key aspects of it. They are looking at whether the builders are compliant, and then over a period of time they get their performances to predict whether what kind of a default probability be able to execute the project, define the financials and instructions related progress and performances of the projects. And then compliance also will be showing whether the legality related to the project is also sound or not sound. So overall sense is that I see there are two types of risk in the real estate. One is the execution risk and the price correction. A country like we have already gone through our exuberance and the correction phase of it, and with the way the recovery of the real estate has happened in the recent times, post 2016 onwards. I see the price correction risk is virtually got really moderated. I don't see that kind of risk is there. Bigger risk is close to execution risk, and then that is where I think the RERA and the ratings of the RERA is on. Even today, if I take the top 60 cities in India, 25% of the unsold is counted in the installed state. And I think but 75% of what it is the one which really came before the RERA was in the existence. Post RERA, the default probabilities of the developer has reduced, and I think it has been able to bring the prudence and the discipline and accountability under the real estate has started performing. But overall rating will also ensure going forward with the compliances and the progress mapping comes into place, then the default probability will reduce further.
Thank you. I think the second question would be to Mr. Shah. That suppose I'm a buyer, and looking at the credit agency, whosoever, maybe if MahaRERA does it, or if it goes on, whether the agencies are being employed for rating the projects or whatever project or whatever it is. If as a buyer, I see your project rating and I buy and it goes something wrong, then will I get some respite from MahaRERA or the agency who is doing the credit? Can I, because I will be definitely making your party as if that because of your recommendations, I purchased that and it had gone wrong. So how would be the legal process, and whether the buyer is still have some respite on the rating purpose?
Now, I tell you that the intentions that MahaRERA is showing right now may be noble. In fact, are noble to an extent. Two things. One, that right now we are only focusing on the financial and legal aspect of the project. And then we use the term gradation of the project. Now, these are two different things. If you're talking about compliance rating, then name it as a compliance rating. Do not name it as a project gradation, because going by what the consultation paper has been talking about, it is about a compliance rating. It is really not project gradation. There are many aspects to project gradation. Let me enumerate. I'll answer this thing, but the background has to be known. As far as project gradation goes, the quality of the materials used, the quality of construction, what kind of steel, what kind of cement, what kind of electrical fittings, plumbing fittings, the layout that has come, fire safety measures that have gone, those things have to be factored in when you talk about project gradation. Is it super luxury? Is it luxury? Is it HIG, MIG, LIG, low income group, middle income group project? Is it a standalone? Is it a gated community? Is it not? Does it have amenities? There are so many factors that go into the gradation of a particular project. Now, to judge a project just on the basis that a rating on the financial and legal compliance has been done or not, and if that becomes the criterion for buying a particular flat or a premises in a project, so that entire premise, according to me, will not suffice the purpose. Yes, later on when all these factors are coming into play, yes, then we may do the gradation. I was going through section 32 also. I don't know whether MahaRERA should be doing this or no on its own, because if you see section 32, it is basically these recommendations have to be given by MahaRERA to the government for gradation of projects. Now, when the statute itself is clear that the recommendations have to be given to the government, and now the question is who will be grading the projects? Should MahaRERA do it itself? If this is what they are trying to do, then there are two factors which come. Here, MahaRERA itself is the authority which is going to adjudicate disputes between the home buyers as well as the developers. And here, you yourself are the one who is going to even rate the projects. So in case of a dispute, you will be able to be entitled to be a judge in that particular dispute, is one legal question that might spring up. A furthermore important thing to understand is that the job of the government and the instrumentality of the government, whether by way of a tribunal or an authority or a planning authority, is to govern. It is to regulate. It is to lay down policies. The moment you start rating these things or grading these things on your own, you are in effect trying to recommend that this project, a flat in this project is viable or not viable. So if the intention is that if greater the ratings or gradation, as you might call it, is more recommendatory, I think this is an area which we should avoid. Yes, if the rating is as far as the legal and financial considerations are there, that this is a project, this is a developer or a project which is giving the timely reports, it is submitting, and that is why whatever they're stating is reliable or not in terms of disclosure. If we are limiting ourselves to that, then this is definitely a good move. But then for project edition, further things will have to be taken. I understand that the intention is not to have other private credit rating agencies to get into these waters. But even if they were to do that, understand real estate is, credit rating of a real estate project is actually getting into muddy waters. Because in any other product that you see, once the finished product is out, it is tried, tested. Human trials are concerned when it comes to pharmacy and all those things. For other kind of, let's say, steel product is there or electronic product is there. Health and safety tests are also done. All those things. In a real estate project, when you're talking about the gradation or rating, there are factors like past experience of the builder, past performance of the builder. All these things we are getting into. And that is definitely not a guarantee that the project which is under construction will be very good and it is going to see the light of the day and everybody's going to be happy. It's not necessary. Some of the very, very big builders worth their name have failed into this thing. So today when you give a rating to a particular builder and their project, and if it is to fail, I don't think so. As a government or instrumentality of the state, we should expose ourselves to that. But this is my candid views. I'd like to be corrected by sir on this.
So we want to, hear it from you. What would be the modality or how the methodology which the, should come as far as the project rating is concerned? What should be the ideal method?
Views are respected, and
Yes.
we would certainly examine these issues. But initially, as the consultation paper says, the first phase of maybe 2 years or 3 years is only the disclosure phase. And secondly, it is not the promoter rating, it is the project rating. A promoter may have 5-7 projects, but we will not be rating promoter, we will be rating only the project. And that too also in the initial stages, we are restricting ourselves only to disclosure of information. And maybe we will learn in these 2-3 years as to how to go about this entire process of grading or rating the project. So initially we are concentrating ourselves on whether the project is compliant. Basically with special reference to section 11 of the Act, whether he is filing his quarterly progressive reports, whether his accounts are getting audited, whether his chartered, whether his architect, whether the certificates are in order. Like what are the mandatory compliances that we will be observing for first period of 2 to 3 years, And then based on this experience, we will decide as to how to go about it. This is presently the thought process we have it in MahaRERA.
But whether the MahaRERA will be employing some agency for this, or whether you are having your own team which will build here?
Initially, as I told you, for the first 2-3 years, this will be only information we will be deriving out of the system. And whether to deploy an outside agency and what would be the criteria for the empowerment of that agency, if at all MahaRERA decides at that point of time to go for such agencies, it has some time actually, 2 to 3 years. which we talk about stage.
Okay, what would be the, when you say that when somebody got a C grade, or what sir is saying that if suppose there is no proper compliance or proper disclosure or material disclosure in the section 11 which our developers needs to give, would be the any area into that? If suppose if I just go and do all the compliance, but still my just what Mr. Shah said, that maybe the material is inferior, or that is who is going to vouch such type of gray areas into that?
There are already like targeted content.
This is correct option.
Themselves can't really do that within the end of the age of that is what will be used in the assessment. And apart from that is like, no one can. So even though there are valuations takes place, there are DB studies takes place and all those things, the building is spending and all those things, it is that they have gone by the PCR and the building laws and other framework in which the building has been really considered and built. It will be very hard for anyone to really do the quality checks in the under construction property, and that goes to do so. Frankly speaking, any grading or any rating actually has a limitation. So I think the grading will always have the limitation in that sense. It is suggesting the prospective persons that whether he is compliant or not, that institutions and the agencies employed by them, by the builder, has given appropriate reports or not, and based on that the rating has been done. At the end of it, I don't think so the RERA would or should be saying that they are party in suggesting that the project is there. What they are saying that the probabilities of the default or the probabilities that the projects will take place properly or not properly. So there are many rating agencies. So whether it's like financial instruments ratings and all those things, many agencies doesn't really fall prey to it if the market conditions or many other conditions defy those ratings, and then sometimes the C grade rating builders or the project can perform better and then deliver in time, and then sometimes A grade can really get stumbled upon over a period of time. I think the rating will remain this, and then the second question is that if someone has been given C rating and all those things, I think the consumer should be known, and the builder community should really realize that they should not get into C grade, because that will start impacting to this. So I'm saying that this is going to really place the kind of a discipline and the progressive approach of doing the business, and force more compliant, which is not a case even today. Sir was telling that out of 720 or projects, only 6 or 7 projects have really updated their websites and things like it. So there are slackness and the lackluster approach in terms of the updation and compliance. And I think once this rating gets enforced and all those things, the compliance will be. And the RERA has only promoted the real estate. So look at pre-RERA and post-RERA. Had the RERA not been there, I think so we would have been facing the way the China is facing as on day. You know, we were seeing that the prices were jumping up, builders default, investors participation being high, consumption and productions in the real estate was not really in place. Post RERA, you see that the consumption and production in the real estate has improved, and that is what there we see the GDP also. So I see that with the ratings or with any kind of monitoring metrics, or if we do not name it rating, if we start saying by any other name, or if I start making a dashboard where I am saying that whether he has fulfilled this and updated or not updated, this is where his score is standing, and that will be quite impactful to the real estate industries where the compliance will be.
I think the basic purpose of the object of the rating would be that let the confidence level of the purchaser or financiers or maybe housing financiers and other stakeholders comes up, and the builder should perform well within the regulatory parameters. Now my question is this: then would be only the compliances if you are making the parameter as a compliance. If a bad developer makes a good compliance and he is having 100 of litigations or default in financial market or maybe blacklisted in some other agencies or maybe prosecuted also, somebody is in the jail, but the team is doing good compliance. So would it be only that the compliance would be the parameter for this, or should not be the other parameters should be also taken into consideration?
So in addition to compliance, initially when we would be disclosing information, there will be disclosure of cases pending against him. If there are any warrants issued against him, or if there are any penalties levied against him, or if there are any court cases relating to litigation of the project are undergoing or not, that information also shall be disclosed, and it is mentioned there in the consultation paper also that this information will be captured. It is basically to inform the buyer to make a prudent decision whether to invest or not. Now today, how many of us have experienced that you have invested in a certain project with intention to buy your home, and how many times you had a free access to the property when it was being built? Most of the cases, the entry is denied, and then what means do you have to know whether the project is progressing or not progressing? And to know that, the quarterly progress report and the return that he has to upload online, it is one of the most essential factors. There was a question regarding to quality of the project, and I think it was answered by Mr. Kapoor also. Yes, that might be an issue, but is there no responsibility on the chartered account, on the architect also? He is certifying that the project is conforming to the quality norms. Secondly, there is a certificate of the civil engineer also appointed for the project. So these two are the authorities, they are registered under a certain organization. Like for chartered accountants, you have their association. For architects also, you have their association. And if we find cases where the chartered accountant or the architect, he has given a wrong certification, we can certainly take up the issue with their organizations. In fact, we have already started informing to the Association of Chartered Accountants about certain discrepancies that we found in the audit report certified by the Chartered Accountants. So similar action, if we notice that the project quality is not maintained, then we can certainly take action. I may tell you in continuation that we have already started visiting the projects. And for that purpose, we have already empaneled agencies valuers who are registered with the Commissioner of Income Tax or Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. Wherever we find that the project is not showing a proper progress or there is a big mismatch between the financial expenditure and the physical progress, these investigators have now started visiting the projects, and so far around 300 projects have been inspected, and we have got the reports which are in the process of analyzing. Of that, in many projects, we found that there is really a big mismatch between the physical progress shown and the financial expenditure shown to have been incurred. And the process is going on. Of course, as you know, the legal process takes time. It takes certain time. When you issue notices, you have to give them certain time. Then he replies, then the reply is to be evaluated. And again, if there are discrepancies, you have to inform him again. Then there are processes of hearings. But things have started. And I hope that in time to come, maybe after 2 years or 3 years, once the procedure gets established, the confidence level of both buyer as well as accountability of the promoter shall improve.
Coming back to Mr. Shah's, attention, sir, that what question he has raised is this: you are the regulator and you are the aggregator. So in that process, when you grade, usually the grading, communications are being taken as if that, say, for example, SEBI. Now, SEBI themselves don't do any grading. They have given to some credit agency which is accredited to them. And say, suppose if I'm coming with the IPO or coming with a public deposit or whatever, so my instrument should be credit rated with the grade. Now here, if the authority themselves going to grade and adjudicate the same thing, then how you are going to come out of that particular situation? Because then you will be also party in the process.
I would like to clarify that as the consultation paper says that we have also invited your suggestions on that. It clearly says that in phase 1, it will only be disclosure of information. About phase 2 will depend on the quality of information that we get and what we learn from our own experience in these 2 or 3 years. And after we get some experience, the quality of information, analysis of data, what is actual position on the ground, maybe after 2 years or after 3 years, we will come out with a final policy.
Sir, I would like to, have just deviating from our questions. I was having a very great scholar over here who is also PhD into the real estate finance, Dr. Sundaram Purvi over here. When I was speaking to him in the just beginning of this function, there was a great concept of how the categories of various segments in this. I would like to, give the mic to him. He will explain to you. It's not a question. It is just an understanding that how best the gradation should have been done. So, Dr. Purvi, if you can just throw some light.
The template is that all projects are so if we at a nation grading, we can have the categories premium, regular, affordable. Then each we can have a A. That's so that the A in affordable housing is not the same as A. In fact, what happens is in the credit rating, all the rating agencies in the civil jurisdiction, the SEBI jurisdiction, were using different notation. Simple. So standardization of simple was not. Still large.
And sir, we are having Dr. Savla over here, who is also into various, research committees of various, and he published a lot of books and papers, conference papers also. I would like to, invite him on the subject, whether what is the, basic, fear the developers lobby is, because I have, when we announced that this is what the discussion which we are going to have, I have received a lot of, I will tell you that what, the developers have sent me and what are those apprehensions. I would like to just listen to him, then I will give you what my feedback would be. Sir.
You, Sanjay. So, and of course, I've been interacting with, fellow developers as well. One of the thought process is that already MahaRERA, which is a pioneer amongst all the other state RERA authorities, and whatever MahaRERA is doing is one of its kind in terms of, and then everyone needs to emulate whatever MahaRERA does. It has thought leadership, personally. Now, already there's so much information. Now, even with the new website, there's a truckload of information which is already available. So our perspective as developers was that, no stakeholder is actually visiting the website really and going through the data. So we are just creating more and more data from whatever is already available, but no one is really bothering to go. So I think if a consumer, a home buyer or a banker actually takes efforts to go through the MahaRERA website, to go through the orders which are there against a particular developer, against a particular project, go through the papers which are already uploaded over there, I think we won't need any more instruments. The issue will still remain the same despite, whatever we try and do. The habit of going to the website, and now the QR code is a very welcome practice. It's very user friendly, it's very interface friendly. So I think the challenge really lies over here is about someone not going through the data. Second, unfortunately, when it comes to real estate sector, home buyers shy out from appointing professionals. I personally believe if a home buyer makes it a compulsion to have an advocate or a solicitor appointed, depending on the kind of flat he's buying. If it's luxury housing, of course, a solicitor can also be afforded. But if it's a mid-income housing, a simple lawyer who can do due diligence for you on your behalf, you are putting your life savings. And if you do not even want to invest in having a lawyer for those documents for you, I think that is the most unfortunate part. So, principally, the root cause really lies over there, where the home buyer just relies on the deed that the developer shares, doesn't bother to do due diligence either on its own or hire professional advice. I think if professional advice is hired, we have so many lawyers who expertise in property field, they will immediately raise red flags. Also, lawyers within themselves have a good network. Through their own network, they can verify about whatever is the credibility or credentials of the developer and highlight it to the home buyer. But saving this, it's like a penny wise pound foolish approach which home buyers have today, unfortunately, which is resulting in a domino effect of chaos. I think instead of adding another parameter, which will bring a whole new realm of information, and today as developers, we are spending less time on site and more time doing paperwork only. BMC has been talking about doing a single window system. There are 85 NOCs which they ask us to. They can't have but when it comes to self-redevelopment, they can have a single window and a 3-month clearance. But why not do it for, and our BMC has a budget of 40,000 crores, a deposit which is going to touch 1 lakh crores, but still cannot implement single window system. So that is, the state in which we are. And to topple it up, if we add more layers of information, I think it will create more confusion. Rather, if in my mind, MahaRERA is extremely comprehensive. They've taken some great steps in terms of building good transparency of data. It's only a matter of time that buyers need to really go through that data or hire a professional who will go through on their behalf. And our opinion is that will resolve the issue. We don't need any further more pieces. Let the developers focus on their sites. We are just spending more time in our offices doing these paperwork only. And the penalties are so high that its promoters' time is required in these paperwork. So it's really that is one suggestion, observation, request that we had. But of course, whatever is happening at RERA, especially at MahaRERA, is commendable. And I think the whole country is looking up to MahaRERA.
Can I answer?
Yes, please. Yes.
Can you quote a single instance where so far penalty has been imposed by MahaRERA for non-compliance. So this was a hypothetical assumption perhaps. Secondly, yes, loads of information available. But have you ever considered what is its worth? A developer has got himself registered in 2017. Now we are in 2023. He has not updated even once. And let me tell you now that since the topic has been opened, there is something called form number 5, which is the annual statement of accounts audited by the chartered accountant. So every year he has to submit one such document till the project is completed. Now, if you consider from 2017 and if you take 2022, our requirement was 65,000 form 5 pertaining to various years and number of projects. How much we received? 12,000. So now, whether your buyer is informed, you do not have your chartered accountant certificate, you do not have your architect certificate, you do not have your civil engineer certificate, then what information a buyer is supposed to know? Now, secondly, information is available, but buyer is not seeing. No authority can do anything about that. Information is made available to you. If you are not making use of it, no authority can do anything about that. So, that is why we are concentrating more on the compliance part. That if a buyer is informed, if he knows he can easily assess whether the physical progress is commensurate with the financial expenditure that has been shown. Instances have been noticed when we started actually analyzing your reports by a team of competent chartered accountants. We found there is a great mismatch between the financial expenditure and the physical progress. In fact, we have already identified around 400 such projects where there is a big mismatch. And in certain cases, as I was referring, I would not like to name the project, but the expenditure incurred was shown to be 900 crores. Physical progress on the ground, 1.5%. So, what kind of information is getting uploaded? If we do not ask you or if we do not pursue you to update, that is, I would rather say that it is for the builder, whether to update or not, because he would like to spend more time on the site. Right? If he really spends much time on the site, probably he would be more vigilant and prudent to upload on the website also, so that his buyers would be better informed. So I do not think this is maybe a scapegoat that the promoter doesn't get time to go onto the field. Secondly, what we are saying, if there is no progress in any particular quarter, maybe due to rains or maybe due to any other reason, you can just carry forward your earlier report for the earlier quarter. We are not after you कि ये quarter में तुमने पैसा खर्चा क्यों नहीं किया, तुम्हारी building क्यों नहीं आगे बढ़ी. Whatever position is on the ground, only that intimation has to be disclosed. We do not want anything more than that.
One more question is this: there are some loopholes in the the compliance part. Suppose one of the developers, I know that some of the projects are being registered with a completion date of 2049. Now,
Yes.
now, if suppose I have complied, you say that I have complied, and I will go on for next 25 years, I will construct the building. But then too, because I have complied best and I'll get a greater gradation, how will you having some bandwidth check and balance of this?
One or two such projects have got registered, but they are mostly such projects are the plotted development projects. They are not the building projects. Now, suppose I buy a piece of land and I get it converted into NA. I may take any number of times. It is my goodwill, my wish, whether I sell it 1 plot or 10 plots in a year. So I may be waiting for all the plots to get sold, and maybe I anticipate that after 20 years I would get maybe 10 times more price. They are not the building projects.
I will put it like this. Say we are having 42,000 projects right now registered with us. And you said maybe 65,000 form number 5s to come. And you, last too many years, the people have, and they are just paid say 12,000. Now the question is, of course, there is a compliance part which the developers or the promoters are lacking, and you are having some checks and balance. And you are rightly said that you have not actually penalized anybody
So
right
far.
now. So far, so of course, the more than some 17,000 notices have already been received by the industry. But that is, of course, it is a good practice. It is not that it is we are shying away with the compliance. But sir, because of that, really, last 2 years were very bad as far as the COVID is concerned, and as far as some financial after the COVID, after March and all that, people are coping up with. Right now, they are coming up with the extension. The buyers are not cooperating for giving them the extension or whatever. Now, such type of things which are kind of process where it is out of the hand of the builder. How would that be? Suppose the project is good, but the compliance is still having some gray area. How the RERA is going to not have some check and balances on this?
Promoters, difficulty, be it it's legal or maybe it is his financial difficulties.
Yes.
Does it prompt him not to upload the information? We are not saying that he should not get extension. In fact, RERA has already come out with a guideline and a circular that if you are not getting requisite number of consents, then with the reason you can file a case before MahaRERA, both the parties shall be heard and RERA may pass an appropriate order, considering sides of both the parties. So it is not that every time we are insisting that requisite number of consent has to be there for filing a proposal. If you do not have that kind of a consent, you can still come before RERA.
The 2-3 years you said, sir, because after the compliance part, you will, grading it. So what is the vision? After 2-3 years, you're going to also see other parameters like quality, location, finance, other aspects.
That would mostly depend on what is our experience in first 3 years.
But sir, the basic concept of grading is, suppose I am a buyer or I am a financer who wants to finance the developer for a specific project, and the gradation is good. Basis what the compliance is, and I've told you that some gray areas where we can hide behind and all that. But today's business practice would be that if suppose there is a gradation, then all the aspects must be taken care of, whether by MahaRERA or maybe by some other agency, whosoever is doing it. That even that the location aspect or the material used aspect, because now premium it will be a tile in marble. Affordable housing, there will be a mosaic tile. Now, basis on this, that what type of tile you are using, you are going to grade it. So, Professor Sundaram Purvi very well said that it has to be segmented into different segments, say premium housing or affordable housing or mid-segment housing, and then you go for it. So that why not having a comprehensive paper rather than confining yourself only to the compliance part? Because compliance, that you are going to give a weightage and the AI will play around. So the next question would be that why not have a comprehensive approach for grading rather than just confining yourself to only compliances?
That is exactly the reason why we have invited suggestions from you.
Yes, sir. And what would be the question is this, and very, people find, sir, 2 questions which very, very importantly people were asking me that ask the panelists that first is that who will buy the property of C graded? Is that not the responsibility of RERA to uplift and give a holding hand to the people those who are having a C grade? So how the RERA will help them to bring it to the B grade or A grade? That is what the next question.
Firstly, right now we are not saying whether the project is A grade, B grade or C grade.
Yes, sir.
Secondly, as far as funding agency is concerned, I do not think that the funding agency will rely only on gradation of either MahaRERA or some other agencies, which grade maybe A plus, C plus, whatever grading they are giving. I do not think any funding agency will entirely rely on the grading given by any authority. They will have their checks and balances. They will have their own system to assess as to how much should they finance and what would be the work of the project and to what extent they can finance. So I do not think that they will entirely rely on our authority or some other authority.
And the other question was that who will police the police? So if you are having, of course, maybe a foolproof system, but this, are you going to have some vigilance that that people may find some ways and means to come on the A grade? So whether you are having some checks and balances for that.
The system will evolve over time. And secondly, as I've already said, we would really welcome suggestions from you. Nothing has been finalized so far. What we are saying as of now is any project which is registered after 1st of January 2023, and once he completes a period of 6 months, after that period of 6 months is over, we could disclose an information, whether he has submitted his quarterly progress report, whether his chartered accountant has certified his accounts, if his financial year is over, then whether his accounts were audited, and it will be specific to the project, not to the promoter. A promoter may be having more than one project, but we would be concentrating only on the project. The first phase is only of disclosure of information. And as the time progresses, like for instance, a project which got registered in the month of January, its first quarterly report falls due on 20th of April. Likewise, subsequently, the next date is 20th of July. So after completion of 3 months and 20 days after that. So that is the time period given for updating the information. So if a promoter is vigilant to upload that information, and presently we have checks and balances to find out that if we find that there is a bigger mismatch between the financial expenditure and the progress shown, we already have our investigators in place, which can be directed to go and visit the site in person, go there, give us entire details in an already prescribed pro forma for them, take out photographs of the building, and certify. So I think to begin with, if any promoter is not uploading his information, not disclosing anything to the buyer, there would not be any question of giving him even either A or B or C rating. It is only disclosure of information. Secondly, most of these parameters, we are also trying to see whether they can be incorporated into the QR code. So if some of the information which we feel that is important for the buyer to know, we are working on that, and simultaneously this will also be uploaded into the QR code.
Let me ask a question to Pankaj. Your reports are being used by the financiers, and taking a clue from sir's discussion that you are being giving the information to the financial institutions on projects on basis that people may be getting funding and all that. What is your experience as far as the agency, because you are giving the research and the credit ratings to them, maybe to this. What are those expectations and what are those level of confidence these financial institutions look at in your report?
One thing is the market has been expanding and it's real estate is very complex subject. So they do not really know every single project. Frankly speaking, it gives them a information base to which they can have a first-hand assessment that these projects or the builders are not going forward or not going forward. So what we do is we actually assess the project level performance and then aggregate at the builder level. So that becomes a builder. So there's a project and as well as a builder. This actually is an initial assessment for them whether to consider who are the performing developers and non-performing developers, and then they take their own call. So this is just one of the information which is at the initial stage. But the way the market is like today, we are covering the data of around 60 cities, around 20,000 projects, and there are 11,500 developers. And the market, any financier, you ask them that they would be 100 or 200 developers, not beyond that. And the way the credit market is expanding, and then there's a competition which is emerging. These information basis really becomes a very, very vital for where they have to go. Which are the performing builders? They can extend the So I'm saying that there are two sides of the story. Is that one side of the story is that what happens, the C-grade developers would get the preferences of the buyer or vendor. Having said that, it's also there are many A and B grade developers who are actually unknown to the world. They will really get benefited. And frankly speaking, there are only 20% of the projects across India where you would find that the execution default probability is high. There would be still 80%, but out of this 80%, the benefit goes to only the limited number of people. So the experience being with that today is the age of the data, and people want to expand using the data and then want to really reduce their judgment and operational timeline using these data. And this becomes a benchmark. Eventually, every decision of lending or buying a property, subconsciously or consciously, we actually consume a lot of data and then eventually make this thing. So Harshal also was mentioning that there are a lot of data available in all those things. I'm saying that the more the information, more the complexities are there. I think grading and the assessment will simplify this, which can give assurance to someone whether to go with him or not to go with him. This is going to be really add as an assurance and one more assurance. Everyone wants to take, someone who is putting big money into a real estate wants to have the assurance. And I think this is going to be big enabler, my point of view.
So one of the online questions is that what is the deadline which the MahaRERA intend to come up with the gradation?
As I've told you that initially we have invited suggestions from you. So far we have received only 2 suggestions. So we would request you now, today also there was a lot of deliberation. I would request that if this could be put in writing before MahaRERA. So if there is a necessity, we might extend time also by another maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks something. But basically we would like to know your suggestions.
Yes. Floor is open for the questions. If at all you have.
Short point. Who do you think is the most
For project grading. Presently, as I have told you, we are only concentrating on the information part of it. As far as quality of the project and other aspects are concerned, that stage would come after 2 to 3 years. So therefore, after having gone through your suggestions, now there are also, difference of opinion that the civil engineer is saying architect to certify and architects are saying that civil engineer to certify. Yes, probably Dr. Chaturvedi is aware of this issue, that this fight is going on between these two technical persons, that that the architect is saying that my role is limited only to the drawing and the structural design, whereas civil engineer is there to see whether the quality of construction was maintained. Now the civil engineer says, I may say that the quality was maintained, but what are the tiles and flooring was used? He says, that is not my job. So now there is a lot of passing the buck.
Yes, sir. Sir, first of all, just to answer the question, the deadline given in the circular is 15 July, but it may be extended. Sir, my suggestion is to rate not the project, but to rate the developer. Like Vyom sir said, first we have to use the product. Even Amazon, first we use the product, then we give the review that 1 star or 5 star. So my point is that let the developer get the rating and not the project. So when we look at any particular developer entity, whether as a proprietor or as a private limited company or public limited company, we will see that overall his rating is so and so because so and so issues in so and so projects, or vice versa. High rating, good rating, because he has done so many good compliances. So I feel that if the developer is rated instead of the project, the developer will be more motivated and it might be more easy for him to have a single calculation rather than to show the customer that X project is good and X project is bad. So that is suggestion number one, for which manipulations will have to be taken care of. For example, developer should not change the entity. So if he has a bad rating in one entity, either on his own name or private limited, precautions to be taken that if he forms an LLP or partnership or something, he does not get a fresh, clean slate. And automatically he will be incentivized and motivated to carry out the compliances, because if his overall name is getting affected, let him give the conveyance if he has done all statutory compliances till the last step of he has done conveyance in 10 out of 10 projects. So let him receive good ratings on that basis that he has done compliances in all the projects, and overall his developer is getting the rating, not the projects. My other concerns, there are many peculiar scenarios that can arise. We may try to look at some kind of overall absolute or blanket system, but peculiarities, idiosyncrasies and special situations will always arise. For example, there is one case going on in MahaRERA where the project is delayed by more than 15 years. I will not name the developer, but the date of possession more than 15 years easily is there. Now, builder has filed MahaRERA case against 150 allottees, saying that even though I have delayed till today, I have no funds and I am filing this RERA case to alter the terms of the contract. The buyer's construction link stage has not arrived and they are not supposed to pay, but I am filing this case. Please direct the buyers to pay in advance even though they are not liable to pay. So that is one thing that is being raised in the case, and he is seeking to extend the project completion possession date by even 1 year. So my question is, in this case, the buyers are being blackmailed, practically blackmailed, and to file the consent terms so that the builder gets the benefit. What will be the outcome of the rating in this case? It will show that it is settled in the eyes of the law. The matter is disposed by consent terms, which may be looked in the thing of conciliation, but in the ground reality, buyers are getting blackmailed and they are having undue influence to sign the consent terms, which is not in their favor at all. Idiosyncrasies like that can arise. Another issue that can arise, another issue that can arise, or question that will have to be answered, is where allegations or pending court cases affect the rating. For example, if someone has filed the case in RERA, consumer court, even criminal court, suppose metropolitan magistrate, hearings are going on for any property related issue under MoPA-RERA or any other section for non-compliance, then while the proceedings are pending, will the pending proceedings affect the grade, which can work out both ways. The builder is innocent and it is false case, or vice versa. The matter is going on since 5, 10, 12 years, said magistrate. Leisurely matter is going on, 2012 matter till date, it is not disposed, and builder is actually at fault. Everyone, advocates know, buyer knows, but just for the formality of conviction judgment, the matter is pending and builder may be able to take benefit of the pending proceeding. So those 1-2 things I wanted to point out and suggest to rate the builder, not the project, and whether pending court cases will affect the grade.
We have decided to disclose information with respect to the project and not to the promoter, because in the entire registration process, let us say if some 45 odd projects are registered so far, how many projects are registered by a group company? The percentage may be 2%, 3%. Secondly, even if it is a group company, in almost a large number of cases, every time a new LLP is formed. So it's a new company, new entity. Now, can you link company being a legal person and it's a different company? Can you link misdeeds of his earlier company with the new company? We have now started capturing the number of the directors so that we should be able to know. Probably what we may do is that if a director in his earlier company has defaulted seriously, we might give link of that project. We might give link of that project into his new project as a disclosure of information.
Actually, this system exists in civil. So in civil, so this is how banks have been functioning. Somewhere, every agency or every body goes about reinventing the same wheel. Civil has been doing this for decades now and very successfully, because one director or one promoter forming different kind of entities used to defraud different times. They have a bureau system. So somewhere the similar kind of, because ultimately what happens, the notoriousness of the handful 5 or 10% is spoiling the name of the whole fraternity, is actually making a conscious effort to run by governments. And that 5-10% exists in all sectors. It is not that only real estate has that 5-10%, but these 5-10% become poster boy for the whole sector. So rather picking out and eliminating these 5-10% by highlighting that it is continuity of this, and this is a very serious loophole because ultimately, like if I'm doing my PhD on RERA, and I try to study how real estate regulators across the globe operate, they have a licensing system for the developers. So if a developer has done, and of course, yes, here we don't have that concept where that one particular developer is doing because JDAs, different formats exist. But I think borrowing learnings from civil is something which will resolve the issue, and we in fact welcome that, because something what happened at Dombivli is not something, and we actually trace back. None of these were members of CREDA and NCHI, but ultimately, the name came that developers have this common practice. So actually, in Dombivli, there are a lot of CREDA and NCHI developers who are practicing, and they were facing the brunt because these operators and more than 60 developers. And what I'm told is this is tip of the iceberg. So somehow, whatever have been caught is just like what are highlighted, but it is a very regular practice over there. And surprisingly, banks are also taking up premise on lease and funding projects despite having all the mechanisms. So it's pretty much an accepted trend. But we are pro elimination of these operators. It is due to these operators that the fraternity at large is facing issues. We have been trying for industry status, but it is due to these operators that there is a very different image that the government has about developers, and somehow eliminating through a civil mechanism in the real estate parlance terms will help, is strongly my opinion.
Are we supposed to go ahead by exception or by a general rule? These things have happened, but they are exceptions.
Yes.
So what are we supposed to do? We go by exceptions or?
Sir, eliminating means the problem is these are continuing to operate. These kind of players.
So what I simplify that, sir, the very candidly said by Arjun that really the developers who are good and who wants to deliver and continue in the business will not get into all these practices and would like to comply. We're creating an atmosphere where there is a consumer friendly, at the same time it is a developer friendly, and they are able to do business. So, sir, the suggestion would be this: that by a rating system, sir, can MahaRERA or should MahaRERA come up with a mechanism of blacklisting a developer who is continuous, like the word elimination is used, who is into a practice of unfair and malpractices? And should there be a proper bar by MahaRERA on these developers who indulge in dual selling of flats or do not have construction permissions at the place, or there are financial frauds? Should MahaRERA blacklist with the rating system? That with the rating system we are giving A+, B+, C+, but at the same time we have blacklisted XYZ who are not actual developers, but they are here to only defraud. And yes, we have caught those culprits and we are blacklisting them. So they are not part of the developer community. They are actually the black sheep in the. So is that a good suggestion, and can this be also considered?
This is a good suggestion. That is why I have been maintaining that please give your suggestions for the authority to consider. Obviously, I may not have answers to all your queries right now, because the policy decisions are to be taken by the authority as such. So whatever you are suggesting here now, everything shall be complied and placed before the authority. However, I would still request you to please give it in writing.
Yes.
Because whatever we discuss here after this meeting is over, probably I would remember certain things, you may remember certain things. But if you write to us, and still we have a time period of almost 3 years from now. But actually, if such kind of a system has to come, we still have a time. And right now we are, as I have repeatedly said, we are now only in the information stage, disclosure of information.
Yes, in the similar context, SEBI has banning the players, banning from raising IPO, banning from giving financial advice. Just I think 2-3 weeks ago, some persons were banned. And that's because they have a license, and like Harshul sir said, all over the world, or at least in major countries like America and London and all, they have the realtor's license. So right now, I think that is one of the biggest problems plaguing the industry. We are advocates, we are enrolled with the Bar Council, architects are with the architects body, chartered accountants are with the institute. Why don't we bring some kind of institution that will give some kind of licensing to the real estate developers, that the moment they do some kind of transgressions, a notice will go to them, not from the court, but from the governing body, which will cancel their proper regulator. This is how MahaRERA is for the construction industry and for carrying out the smooth construction. Similar, the license to the, maybe MahaRERA itself can come out with the realtors or real estate developers license, so that the burden on the courts is reduced. And secondly, another suggestion that I want to make, sir, the more complicated or parameters we make, the more exponential things are going to get, work is going to increase, and there will be complexity. On the contrary, why don't we do a simple color-coded system? World over, the 3 signal colors are very apt. Red means you are in danger, orange means you are not in danger, you are headed towards danger, you be cautious, and green is everything is healthy. So why don't we have this simplistic and simplicity, that if everything in a project is compared, quarterly updation is done on time, there is no delay in possession, let the project get a green color, which is green is healthy. If there is starting to be some kind of default that he has not updated for 1 quarter, let him go in orange, and if severe penalties or if severe defaults are there, let him go in full-fledged red category to show to the public that red is the most dangerous category. That is another suggestion.
We are already thinking on this.
Any other questions?
And secondly,
Yes,
let me clarify that RERA is relatively young act.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
There are so many things that have been getting disclosed as we are progressing ahead. So as and when we are noticing certain things, we are trying to plug it.
Sir.
कुछ टाइम पहले जैसे ये MCHI है, उन्होंने एक निकाला था, MCHI है तो भरोसा है, ऐसा एक स्लोगन जैसा निकाला। एग्जीबिशंस करते थे, तो एग्जीबिशन में लोग जाते थे, और जो MCHI की एग्जीबिशन में पार्टिसिपेट करते थे, उनके प्रोजेक्ट्स में वो दिखते थे कि भाई MCHI है तो भरोसा है। तो बाद में फिर ये हुआ कि कई केसेज आए कि सर हमने तो आपकी एग्जीबिशन में फ्लैट खरीदा, आपने बोला था कि अगर MCHI की एग्जीबिशन से खरीदते हो तो आपको भरोसा है कि MCHI का एक तरह से ग्रेडिंग दिया हुआ है, वो रही है। लेकिन फिर बाद में MCHI ने बोला कि साहब जैसे आप बोल रहे कि हम तो खाली कंप्लायंस का ग्रेडिंग दे रहे हैं, तो ये बोले हम खाली कंप्लायंस का दे रहे थे कि उन्होंने पूरी कंप्लायंस किया है, उनका लेआउट का, परमिशन का, उनका वो टाइमली पोजीशन देगा कि नहीं देगा, क्वालिटी उसकी अच्छी है कि नहीं है, उस चीज की हमारी कोई गारंटी नहीं थी। तो इसी तरीके से जैसे आज आप बोल रहे हैं कि हम खाली कंप्लायंस की ग्रेडिंग दे रहे हैं, हम कोई टाइम, आज बायर क्या देखता है, 2 चीज देखता है, क्वालिटी उसकी कंस्ट्रक्शन की अच्छी हो, टाइमली मुझे पोजीशन मिले, जो कमिटेड अमेनिटीज जो बोली हुई है वो मुझे पूरी मिले। तीनों चीजों के लिए आपका कोई वो अभी कमिटमेंट नहीं है कि साहब हम इसके लिए ग्रेडिंग दे रहे हैं, हम खाली कंप्लायंस के लिए दे रहे हैं। कंप्लायंस के लिए बायर को क्या लेना देना, वो कंप्लायंस कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा है, उसको तो 3 ही चीजों से मतलब है, टाइमली पोजीशन मिले, क्वालिटी मिले, मेरे को कमिटेड अमेनिटीज मिले। उसके लिए रेरा का कोई अभी नहीं किया हुआ है। फिर जब उसका अनडू एडवांटेज दिया कि साहब हमारा वी आर 5 आउट ऑफ 5 ग्रेडिंग मिला हुआ है रेरा का, हम गुड अच्छे प्रमोट उसमें से हैं, और है तो अब एक लेमेन जो बायर है
मैं एक बात पूछूं आपको, आपने हमारा कोई क्वार्टरली प्रोग्रेसिव रिपोर्ट किसी भी बिल्डर का देखा है अभी तक वेबसाइट पे? अगर आप एक बार देख लेंगे तो और उसके बाद एक क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे तो मुझे लगता है थोड़ा ठीक रहेगा। सर ऐसा है, एक मिनट, ऐसा है, आपको किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने कोई प्रॉमिस किया होगा तो वो उसका प्रॉमिस या अश्योरेंस होगा। यहाँ जो कंप्लायंस है, ये कंप्लायंस ये मैंडेटरी है एज पर द एक्ट, और वो वहां पे जो डिस्क्लोज कर रहा है उसके लॉगिन एड्रेस पे जाके वो वहां पे डिस्क्लोज कर रहा है और अगर वो उस पर पूरी झूठी जानकारी अगर देता है तो ही इज लायबल फॉर पेनल एक्शन इंक्लूडिंग क्रिमिनल एक्शन। वैसा एश्योरेंस आपको किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने अगर दिया होगा बायर्स के प्रमोटर्स के ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से, तो उसमें और इसमें फर्क है, काफी बड़ा अंतर है।
मैं उस चीज के लिए नहीं बोल रहा हूँ सर, मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि जब आपने कंप्लायंस के हिसाब से ग्रेडिंग दे दिया 5 आउट ऑफ 5, अब बायर ने मान लो ग्रेडिंग दे करके खरीदे दे।
आपने साहब हमारा वो जो कंसल्ट पेपर है ना वो ही देखा नहीं, अब देखना ही आपने, अगर आप देखते तो शायद ये क्वेश्चन आप नहीं पूछते। नहीं, और वेबसाइट पे भी हम लोगों ने जो डाला है वो शायद आपने नहीं पढ़ा। Please, hypothetical questions.
Yes, sir. You want to have some? Yes.
Projects, the only article for projects registered after 1st of January.
Yes,
Why is that?
because there had to be some cut-off date.
Why not take an article? Which are there, but they haven't.
We have decided we will start monitoring it from 1st of January 2020.
Projects registered have to disability by now.
They have to comply because they do not have to comply MahaRERA, they have to comply RERA Act. So if they have got registered with us under section 11, they are bound to disclose that information every quarter. And if that information is uploaded regularly, you will be able to know whether the project is progressing or not progressing in terms of finances and also in terms of physical progress.
In terms of
The QR codes are now for the present, there is a certain information available on this QR code. In time to come, we are also thinking of uploading more information on the QR code. Of course, it depends on the capacity, some technicalities are involved, so we are working on that. But basic information which would be required for the buyer to make an informed decision, we are working for that.
There's a question.
There is no question now today. Sanjay sir, really after you joining MahaRERA authority, I think more than 75% of compliance have started or have been in place. So it's a welcome move. Every effort taken by MahaRERA and the authority towards regulation is really commendable. And it is not an overnight job, we all understand. At the same time, when we see that yes, MahaRERA is not against the developer, but for a developer. We understand here that once a grading system is in place, it is very difficult to create a project which is ongoing already before MahaRERA. So the cutoff date was important to understand that a new project will come up and there will be a easy tab to consider for rating. And the rating will fluctuate. Eventually, if we continues to comply, the rating will be maintained. So therefore, it is easier for them to also look at it. And at the same time, Sanjay sir, we have appeared before you as the amicus have been appointed in many matters, where stalled projects also have started being, the wheel has started moving and we are nearing completion in few projects. So therefore, of course, the regulator in this sense has complied and also has acted upon towards completion of a project in holistic manner. There are developer, allottee, and all members were also taken and considered to be completed. So therefore, this circular and the grading system is a very good welcome move. Of course, it needs suggestion, and yes, rightly so, the MahaRERA has done and said that invitations towards this is the first circular where invitations from public has been called for, and eventually I am sure the grading system will be taken at a level where all suggestions will be incorporated and a better product will come forward. And, I will request Sanjay sir to now.
We recognize the presence of Dr. Sundaram Purvi, who is also
researcher for so many years. Would like to felicitate sir the flowers.
I'll switch it to you. We will understand the.
So would like to felicitate Dr. Shri Sanjay because one of the leading thought leaders of our industry from the sir's hand.
Certainly this
Sir?
addresses. If you can felicitate, yes.
Felicitate Dr. Sanjay.
You must share some of your findings with us.
Yes, it will be to complete the
Yes.
PhD part.
Would request someone to propose vote of thanks.
We are very grateful to the learned dignitaries of the dais for sparing time from their very busy schedules for not just coming and enlightening us, but having a very candid, open and honest conversation with us with what are the ground realities of MahaRERA, what are the challenges faced by MahaRERA, as well as what are the challenges faced by the developers. Because at the end of the day, what matters is the satisfaction of the common man and ease of doing business for the developers. As RPWI, surely, sir, we will compile all our recommendations and suggestions to the circular. We will send it officially in writing as well as by email so that the industry can improve and both the common man, the citizen, as well as the businessman can breathe a sigh of relief and both can have a peaceful sleep at night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and continue. Deshmukh sir, today I'm grateful that you attended this seminar and we request your continuous support towards this association and for the members of the association. And we look forward to have a continuous ongoing interaction as and when we request your sir with your busy schedule if you can spare some time.
Certainly, sir.
I'm grateful to all the panelists for Kapoor sir. Vyom sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
RPW has monthly seminars in MCHI and we'll keep you in the loop, we'll keep you involved for all the relevant topics and whatever issues are plaguing the industry allottees and the builders. We usually have talks with experts like the panelists today. We invite the experts to share their views and to clear up any controversies, clear up misunderstandings, clarify technical things. So once a month we hold seminars and we look forward to your involved participation.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Then click first. Sir, chamber में
Yeah,